So homozygous tall should be 2 capital T's. The homozygous short would be 2 lowercase t's. Because short is recessive, the only way for a plant to be short is if it has 2 recessive alleles. If it had a dominant allele, it would be dominant. Now let's figure out what sex cells are created. The homozygous tall parent could either pass down the big T on the left into the sex cell or the big T on the right into the sex cell. The short parent could either pass down the little t on the left into a sex cell or the little t on the right. Now I'm going to put both of these sex cells for the first parent up top and both of the sex cells for the second parent on the side. Once again, it didn't matter if I put the homozygous tall on the side and the short one up top, just as long as one parent goes up top and one parent goes on the side. Now let's figure out what offspring are created. The first box, where the arrow is pointing at, this represents an offspring that were created when the first sex cell, the capital T, up top, combined with the sex cell on the left, the little t. This offspring would have a capital T and a little t in all of their body cells. Now let's do an example with the bottom box. The bottom box is an offspring that's been created from the sex cell up top, the capital T, as well as the sex cell on the side, the lowercase t. So this offspring would have a capital T and a lowercase t. Now for the offspring on the top right. This offspring is created from the capital T up top and the lowercase t on the side. And the last box was created from the sex cell up top and the sex cell on the side to be a capital T and a little t. So it just so happens in this example, when both parents are homozygous, all of the offspring end up being the same. Because all of the offspring have a capital T, all of the offspring are tall. 4 out of 4 offspring are tall. This would be 100%. 0 out of 4 offspring are short. 0%. Now for a new Punnett square example. Let's use the same situation where we have height as a trait in plants, and tall is dominant to short. In this next example, we're going to mate, or we're going to cross, 2 different parents. Make sure to write that tall is dominant to short. In this case, we're going to mate a heterozygous plant with a short plant. And we're going to figure out what percentage of the offspring will be short. So we're going to do the same thing as we did before. We're going to fill in both parents' genotypes, create the sex cells, draw a Punnett square, putting the sex cells up top and the sex cells on the side, and then figure out the phenotype percentage. How many are tall and how many are short? So take a second now, write this down. And press play when everyone's ready. Okay, now for the correct answer. A heterozygous plant would be a plant that has 2 different alleles. So it would have a capital T and a lowercase t. The second parent is short. So once again, the only way to be short, because short is recessive, is if there are two lowercase t's. So for the first parent sex cell, the first parent can either give the capital T to the offspring or the lowercase t. The second parent would give the lowercase t on the left into a sex cell, and the lowercase t on the right would go into a separate sex cell. So now let's put the parent sex cells up top and the second parent sex cells on the side. The first offspring would have a capital T and a lowercase t. The capital T came from the parent up top. The lowercase t came from the parent sex cell on the side. The offspring right below also has a capital T from the top and a lowercase t from the sex cell on the side. The third offspring has a little t from up top, a little t from the side, and the last offspring also has a little t from up top and a little t from the side. Looking at these four offspring, 2 boxes out of the 4 are tall, because 2 boxes have a dominant capital T. So 2 out of 4 would be 50%. 2 out of 4 boxes do not have a dominant, which means that 2 out of 4 boxes are recessive, or are short. So 50% of the offspring are short. Hopefully everyone got that right. So now we're going to move on to another Punnett square problem. This time we're going to switch things around a little bit. Instead of tall being dominant, we're going to say in plants, short is now dominant. So the short allele will be dominant to the tall allele. In this example, we're going to mate a tall plant, and remember, tall is now the recessive, with a homozygous short plant. And we're going to figure out, as we did before, what percentage of the offspring. So you're going to write down the parents' genotypes, the sex cells that they create, draw a Punnett square, put 1 parent sex cells up top, 1 on the side, and then write down the phenotypes. What percentage are tall and what percentage are short. You can pause the video now while everyone tries to do this work out. Just press play when you're ready. Okay, everyone, now for the answer. So in this example, one of the parents was tall. Because tall is now recessive, the only way for the parent to be tall is if it has 2 recessive alleles. Now here's one of the trickier parts of this. Because the short allele is dominant, and we use the first letter of the dominant trait, we're going to use 2 small lowercase s's to show the tall plant.